For a month straight, Donald Trump has been humiliating Justin Trudeau and, by extension, all Canadians on the world stage. It began with Trump's social media threat to impose 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods if Trudeau didn't strengthen border security and crack down on fentanyl exports to the US. Trump proclaimed, "Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long-simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time that they do, it is time for them to pay a very big price." Trudeau's response? A hasty trip to the US to meet with Trump, where he warned that such tariffs would devastate the Canadian economy. Trump reportedly joked about annexing Canada and turning it into the 51st state. Attendees described laughter at the table, though Canadians present were said to be laughing nervously. Shortly after, Trump taunted Trudeau on social media, referring to him as the governor of the great state of Canada. The internet did what the internet does best and exploded with mockery, with some suggesting Canadians would even welcome annexation. Russell Brand even conducted a poll asking Canadians, "Do you want to be America's 51st state?" to which 64.9% of the 86,000 respondents said yes. While not a definitive reflection of Canadian sentiment, the poll underscores the growing disillusionment among Canadians who believe annexation might be preferable to the nation's current trajectory. Trudeau's rebuttal was, as usual, virtue signaling. Speaking at an Equal Voice Foundation event, he claimed Trump's victory over Kamala Harris was evidence of regressive forces opposing women's progress.
We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist. You will always have an ally in me and in my government.
The irony is staggering. Here is a feminist prime minister whose wife left him, whose female colleagues have exited his party citing harassment and mistreatment, and who is rumored to be considering firing his female finance minister. He has the audacity to scold a more successful nation for not electing a woman, despite Canada itself never electing a female leader. Elon Musk summed it up best, labeling Trudeau an insufferable tool. Meanwhile, Ontario Premier Doug Ford floated tangible retaliatory measures.
We will go to the full extent, depending on how far this goes. We will go to the extent of cutting off their energy, going down to Michigan, going down to New York State, and over to Wisconsin. I don't want this to happen, but my number one job is to protect Ontarians and Canadians as a whole, since we're the largest province.
This fiasco epitomizes the dumpster fire of Canadian politics. Faced with tariffs that could cripple the nation, our leaders resort to complaining about sexism or posturing against someone infinitely more powerful. Quebec and Newfoundland premiers rightfully noted that no one wins a trade war with America.
Of course, Doug Ford in Ontario has threatened to stop selling power to the U.S. amid tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump. Is that something either parties here will consider as well?
These tariffs will have significant impact on families and macroeconomies on both sides of the border. We hope it is just bluster. We're preparing as if it is not. There will be no winners in a trade war.
Although it must be recognized that Canada will undoubtedly lose more. Whether the warfare is economic or kinetic, it's a really stupid idea to fight somebody 20 times your size with exponentially more allies. A glaringly obvious solution remains unspoken by almost everyone in our political class. Secure Canada's borders. This would be a win-win, eliminating Trump's justification for tariffs and making Canadian neighborhoods safer. Yet instead, Canada's Border Services Agency has lost track of 30,000 individuals ordered to be deported. Illegal crossings into Canada have surged, with roughly 19,000 arrests in the Santon sector in 2024 alone, equal to the last 17 years combined. Meanwhile, 358 individuals linked to terrorist organizations were apprehended crossing the US-Canada border, more than double the number apprehended at the Mexican border. Let that sink in. Canada's border is now a preferred route into America for criminals and terrorists. While Trudeau's incompetence is the primary culprit, Jagmeet Singh cannot escape blame. The NDP leader props up Trudeau's regime, enabling their looting of Canadian taxpayers while allowing crime and terrorism to thrive. Their combined actions border on treason. Securing Canada's borders and protecting its sovereignty should be a no-brainer. Instead, Canadians are left with leaders who prioritize virtue signaling and pandering over meaningful solutions, leaving the nation's reputation and security in disarray with economic warfare looming.